Good day everyone! Welcome to the world of mathematics. So in this video, we will learn important things and those are about pre-calculus and basic calculus. So math is not that hard actually. So don't be discouraged or confused right away because I am here. Teacher Ella will help you understand each lesson in this subject. So without further ado, let's start our discussion.
Okay, so let's have first our daily reminders. So first one is, again, if you think that you can't understand the lesson because of the pacing of it, you think it's too fast for you, you can pause our video. Then after that, you can proceed. Okay, and you can also use your ball pen and notebook to jot down notes, to jot down all the important concepts and the formulas that we will going to use in solving problems involving our lesson for today. So let's now start. Lesson number 6 is about polar coordinates. So let's have the objectives for today. Number 1 is to analyze the polar angle in the polar coordinates. Number 2 is to evaluate problems involving polar coordinate system. Number 3 is to manifest patience in facing real life problems. Now let's have the definition of the polar coordinates. So when we say polar coordinates is a system for the plane based on radius r and angle measure theta. So let's now compare the rectangular coordinates that we all know versus the polar coordinates. So in rectangular coordinates, we have ordered pair which is x, y, while in polar coordinates, we have ordered pair which is r and angle theta, or the angle measure theta. So when we say x, this is our independent variable, and y is our dependent variable. While in polar coordinates, when we say r, this is the radius or directed distance from polar to the point P. While the polar or the angle measure theta, this is the measure of the given angle. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the conversion from rectangular coordinate to polar coordinate. So let's have the example or the formula in converting rectangular to polar coordinate. So from rectangular coordinate in getting the radius, we have the formula here, which is, wait for a while, let's have our ball pen here. All right. In getting the radius, we have r is equal to square root of x square plus y square, while the polar angle or the angle measure theta is we have the angle theta equals the inverse tangent of y over x. So teacher, how can we find this one? So you can use our calculator or scientific calculator and we will just plug in the given values. We will plug in the y, our x, then also all we need to do is to type or put the inverse tangent or the tangent raised to negative 1. Okay, so let's have an example. So you can pause this video, then you can use your calculator to double check our answer so that you can also see how to compute it using the calculator. Okay, so we have here rectangular coordinate and we need to convert it into polar coordinate. So let's have the r first. Again, in getting the r, we need to find the square root of x squared plus y squared. All we need to do is to substitute the x and y value in the formula. So our x here is 8, so 8 squared, plus our y is 15 square or 15, then our square. Then after that, let's simplify. So 8 square is 64. 15 square is 225. Then after that, add 64 plus 225. That is 289. So if you don't know the square root of 289, again, you can use your scientific calculator for that. Okay? So our radius is positive, negative 17. So that's our radius. Next is the angle measure or the angle theta or the polar angle. So in finding the theta again or the polar angle, we have again the inverse tangent of y over x. Again, we will just substitute the y. So y is 15. So we have here 15 over 8, which is again our x. Then using your calculator, put it on your calculator, the inverse tangent, or click the tan raised to negative 1, then open parenthesis 15 over 8, then close parenthesis. And we have approximately 61.93 degrees. Again, don't forget, if we need to find the polar angle or the angle measure theta, we need to have the unit degrees. Okay? So therefore, if our rectangular coordinate is 8, 15, then the polar coordinate of that is 17, 61.93 degrees. Again, 17 is our radius, and our polar angle or angle measure theta is 61.93 degrees. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the vice versa. What if the given is polar coordinate? Then we need to convert it to rectangular. So in converting polar to rectangular and finding the x variable, we have the x is equal to r cosine theta. Then finding the y variable, we have y is equal to r sine theta. So teacher, how can we find that one? Okay, so again, this is our r. This is the given radius, and theta is the given polar angle or the given angle measure theta. So we will just substitute it and we will put it in the calculator and we can get the answer already. Okay? Again, in getting the x, we will going to substitute the r, then cosine, then the angle measure. The same with y, that is the radius, then sine, then angle measure. So let's have an example. So we have polar coordinate 3, 120 degrees. So 3 here is our radius and 120 degrees is our angle theta or polar angle. So in finding the x, so let's have the x first, is again, we need to use the formula x is equal to r cosine theta. So we will just substitute the r, so 3, then copy the cosine, then our theta, which is 120 degrees. Then you can use your scientific calculator again. Then the answer is negative 1.5. So that is our x variable. Now, let's proceed to our y. So y is equal to r sine theta. That's the formula in getting the y. Now, again, substitute the r and the angle theta or the polar angle. So r is 3 or radius. Then sine, then the angle theta, 120 degrees. So using again your calculator, our y is 2.6. So therefore, the rectangular coordinates is negative 1.5, comma 3 square root of 3 over 2 or negative 1.5, comma 2.6. So it's easy to convert rectangular to polar or vice versa. Just um, remember all the formulas. Let's say, for example, the formula in getting the r, or the radius, the formula in getting the angle theta or the polar angle, and also the formula in getting the x and y variable. Okay, now let's have a word problem or real life problem. So Silver went a quick tour on her aunt's town. So her aunt's house is located 2 kilometers and 80 degrees away from the center of the town, which is the church. Again, the center of their town is the church, while the market is located at 1 kilometer and 45 degrees away from the center or from the church. Now, the question is, what have you noticed to the given location of the market and Silver Ant's house? Number two is how can you convert the given coordinates to rectangular coordinates or also known as XY coordinates? And three is how can you plot the given coordinates of the church, market, and the house of um, Silver's Ants or Silver's Aunt? Okay. So let's have the first question. Or, okay, so let's answer the first question. So, what have you noticed to the given location of the market and Silver's aunt's house? So, going back, aunt's house is 2 kilometers and 80 degrees away from the center of the town. Okay, so the given location is in polar coordinates, the same with the location of the market. Okay. Number two is how can you convert the given coordinates to rectangular coordinates or also known as XY coordinates? So we've already discussed it earlier. So we need to use the formula and finding the x and y variable. So let's have number three, the conversion. So we will convert the polar coordinates to rectangular coordinates. Okay. So again, using the given, Ant's house is 2 comma 80 degrees. So our 2 here is the radius and this is the angle theta, the 80 degrees for the polar angle. Then the market is located at 1. So this is our radius and 45 degrees as our polar angle or angle theta. Okay. So let's have first Ant's house. So let's convert it to rectangular coordinates. Okay, so first one is finding the x value. So we will just substitute the radius, which is 2, then cosine, then the angle theta or the polar angle, which is 80 degrees. So using the calculator, we will get 0.35. So you can use your calculator to double check this one. You can pause the video, then use your calculator and see if we have the same answer. Okay, now let's proceed to y. Y is equal to r sine theta. Again, our r is 2, then sine, then our angle theta, which is 80 degrees, which is we have y is equal to 1.97. So therefore, the rectangular coordinates of Anne's house is 0.35, 1.97. Now, let's proceed to the market. Again, same process since we will convert this one to rectangular coordinates. We will find the x variable first. So our cosine theta, so our radius is 1. Cosine, then our angle theta is 45 degrees. And using the calculator, the answer is square root of 2 over 2. Next is the y. So y is equal to r sine theta. Substitute the radius 1, the angle theta 45 degrees. Then the y is equal to square root of 2 over 2. So therefore, the rectangular coordinates of the market's location is square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2. Okay, next one. So we're done with the conversion of polar to rectangular coordinates or rectangular to polar coordinates. Let's now have the plotting of the polar coordinates. So always remember that in plotting the polar coordinates, you will encounter the polar coordinate plane, wherein there's a circle that represents the number of the radius, and the degrees are from or degrees are for angle theta or the polar angle. So first is we need to start on the polar axis and rotate the angle. Number two is if the radius is greater than 0 or r is greater than 0, the point is r units from the origin in the same direction of the terminal side of angle theta. Then if the radius or r is less than 0, the point is absolute value of r or the absolute value of radius units from the origin in the opposite direction of the terminal side of angle theta. Now, let's have the example. So using the given from problem number 1, so we have the polar coordinates 280 degrees as the location of Ant's house. So we will plot this to the polar coordinate plane. So as you can see, this is the polar coordinate plane. Again, each circle represents the radius. So this is the radius 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Then we have here from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. So this is the angle theta. So for us to um, plot our given, which is 2 comma 80 degrees. So again, our radius here is 2. So we will count 2. So this is the first radius. So the second radius, so 2. So under this circle or under this radius is our um, polar coordinate. Now, proceed to the angle theta. So the angle theta is 80 degrees. So from 0 degrees, so we will go to 80 degrees. So this is approximately this one. Okay? So therefore, this is the plot of our aunt's house, which is again in 80 degrees with the radius of 2. Okay? Now, second one, which is the location of the market. Again, the market is located at 1, comma 45 degrees. So again, we will use the polar coordinate plane. And the radius is, okay, so we have typo here. So radius is 1. So we always have a typo. Polar coordinate is 45 degrees. Okay, so this is 45. Okay, 45. We'll just edit this down. Okay, 45. So again, the radius is 1. So this is our radius. It's our circle here. Then our polar angle theta is 45 degrees. So therefore, this is the plot of the market's location, which is again 1, comma 45 degrees. Now, let's proceed to another example. So what if the given um, polar coordinate is like this one? Our angle theta is not in degrees. So this is called as in radian measure. So how can we convert it to rectangular coordinate? So first is we need to determine what is the degree measure of this by converting the radian measure to degree measure. So always remember that in converting radian to degree, the equivalent of our pi here is 180 degrees. So we'll just substitute 180 degrees over 4. So 180 degrees divided by 4, that's 45 degrees. So meaning 2 comma pi over 4 is the same with 2 comma 45 degrees. Now, We know the degree measure, we know the radius already. Let's now proceed to the conversion. Okay, we will convert it to rectangular coordinates. Again, same process. In finding the x variable, our cosine theta, so we will just substitute the radius 2 and our polar angle 45 degrees. So we will get square root of 2. And in getting the y variable, again, we have our sine theta. The radius is 2. The polar angle is 45 degrees. Therefore, our y is square root of 2. So, therefore, the rectangular coordinates is square root of 2, comma, square root of 2. Now, let's proceed to the plotting of this given polar coordinates. Again, the given is 2, comma, 45 degrees. So, again, the radius is 2. And so, this is the radius, second circle, from the point of origin. Then the polar angle is, again, we have typo again. So this is 45 degrees, not 80. Okay? So 45. So therefore, the point is here, or the location of the polar coordinate is here. Okay? And 2 radius with 45-degree angle. Okay? Now let's proceed to the last problem. So plot and convert negative 3 comma the 3 pi over 4. So again, same with problem number 2. Our polar coordinate here, or our angle theta here, or polar angle, is in radian measure. So first, we need to convert it to degree measure before we will convert it to rectangular coordinate. Again, pi is equal to 180 degrees, so we will just substitute 180 to the pi. So 3 times 180 degrees all over 4 is 135 degrees. So therefore, negative 3 comma 3 pi over 4 is the same with negative 3 comma 135 degrees. Now, as you can see, our radius here is negative. So important note is, if the radius is negative, we will get the absolute value of that, and our angle measure or polar angle will add another 180 degrees. Okay, so meaning from negative 3 comma 135 degrees or 135 degrees, it becomes positive 3. Again, we need to find the absolute value of negative 3. So positive 3. Then our original polar angle is 135. We will add another 180 degrees. So therefore, our new polar coordinate is this one. But in converting to rectangular coordinate, we will use this one. Okay? And we have, again, getting the x variable, our cosine theta. So negative 3. Again, in converting rectangular coordinate, we will still use the original one. Okay? So our x is this one, 3 square root of 2 over 2. Then our y is negative 3 square root of 2 over 2. So that's it. Or wait, we need to plot it first. Okay, so negative 3, 315 degrees. Where again we have, so in plotting negative radius, we need to get the absolute value of it. So the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. So our radius here is 3. So absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So as you can see in the polar coordinate plane, our radius here is in the third circle. Okay? Then the polar angle, which is we add already the another 180 degrees. So we have 315. Ayan. So we have this education. Okay?
Hopefully, you really understand our today's lesson. So don't forget to practice more so that you can fully understand our today's lesson. And also, don't forget to attend your synchronous class for more examples and real life problems about our topic for today. So thank you for listening and see you on the next video. Bye!